Incumbent Republican Senator Kelly Loeffler debated Democratic challenger Raphael Warnock for the runoff race in Georgia. And first of all, let me just note that Loeffler doesn't ever seem to show any emotion or any passion. You'll see in the clips that we're about to show you. But more importantly, she dodged every single question regarding whether she stands by Donald Trump's lies about widespread voter fraud. Here's one of those examples for you.
President Trump opened his election rally last night by falsely claiming he won Georgia. He didn't. According to certified state election results, he lost the state by about 12,000 votes. Do you stand by his narrative that the election was rigged, and do you support his demand that Governor Kemp to call a special session to seek to overturn those results?
Well, first I want to thank the Atlanta Press Club for hosting this important debate. And look, it's vitally important that Georgians trust our election process. And the president has every right to every legal recourse. And that's what's taking place. But I've called for investigations. And now there's 250 investigations open here in Georgia. But the president was also clear that Georgians need to come out and vote for David Purdue and myself because of what's at stake in this election. You know, Chuck Schumer said, now we take Georgia, then we change America. We all know what that change would be. They've been very clear. They want to raise taxes on hardworking Georgians. They want to defund the police. They want to open our borders. They want to implement the Green New Deal. I'm fighting for every single Georgian to live the American dream that I was blessed to live.
Senator, did you believe the election was rigged?
Look, Greg, it's very clear that there were issues in this election. There are 250 investigations open, including an investigation into one of my opponent's organizations, you know, for voter fraud. And we have to make sure that Georgians trust this process because of what's at stake in this election.
So of course she's trying to, straddle that line between, siding with Trump enough to avoid infuriating him and, avoiding answering the question factually, which is to acknowledge the fact that all of these investigations have gone nowhere. All of these court cases have gone nowhere. They've even been thrown out by Trump-appointed federal judges. But what she's doing there is dodging the question, which is why I appreciate the fact that the debate moderator, Greg Bluestein, made sure to follow up after she gave a non-answer. But the issue came up again, which we'll go to in just a minute. But Cenk, I wanted you to jump in.
Yeah, let me translate the answer for you guys. On the one hand, if I tell you the Georgia election is rigged, you won't come out to vote, so I will not say that. On the other hand, if I tell you it's not rigged, Donald Trump will yell at me and tell you not to vote for me. So I will not say that either. I'm a politician and a greaseball.
Totally, 100%. I mean, the thing that I love about this story is far too often we cover the news and it ends with injustice, right? It ends with the bad guy winning and you feel like there are never any consequences for the bad guys engaging in bad behavior. But in this case, the Republican Party enabling Donald Trump has essentially backed them into a corner where their political careers are really on the line. They really jeopardize their political careers by enabling Donald Trump. So there's no winning in this situation for Kelly Loeffler, which I love, which is fantastic. She has no business serving in the Senate, especially with the alleged insider trading that she engaged in, which we'll talk about in more detail in just a minute. But to watch them squirm like this is just absolutely fantastic. And we do have one more example of her squirming and dodging the question regarding voter fraud. It's in the next clip. Let's take a look.
That's my number one focus, making sure that Georgians know what's at stake. I have served Georgians every single day. It's been my honor, and I'm going to continue to do that.
Well, if everything is at stake on January 5th, that would presume that President Trump has lost. Is that what you're saying?
What's at stake is the Senate majority. This will determine who brings bills to the Senate floor. And under the Republican Senate, we've been able to deliver $3 trillion of relief to hardworking Americans hard hit by this pandemic, to the frontline workers, to hospitals, to schools. We have to continue to make sure that we open up our economy. The Democrats want to keep this locked down. They want to radically change our country. And their agent of change is radical liberal Raphael Warnock, someone that has said to reimagine police, that is endorsed by organizations whose number one goal is to defund the police. We know the direction the country would take, and we're going to continue to make sure that Georgians understand that our very way of life here in Georgia and across the country is under attack by the left.
Well, not to belabor the point, but all those things that you're warning about would not be happening, presumably, with President Trump as president. So it almost sounds as though you're conceding that that part of it has been settled, and now it's important for the Republicans to keep the majority in the Senate to have a divided government.
Can we get these moderators for presidential debates or primary debates? Like, they do, I mean, based on what I've seen from this debate, they did a pretty good job asking follow-up questions. But to be clear, Loeffler is not the only Republican senator who refuses to acknowledge the reality of the outcome of the general election. In fact, the Washington Post did an analysis on all GOP lawmakers, congressional lawmakers, to see just how many of them have acknowledged the outcome, how many of them have remained silent, and how many of them have actually insisted that Donald Trump won, even though there's no evidence of that whatsoever. Just 27 congressional Republicans acknowledged Joe Biden's win over President Trump. 2 Republicans consider Trump the winner. That's Representatives Paul Gosar and Mo Brooks, because of course. And of course, despite all the evidence showing otherwise, and another 220 GOP members of the House and Senate will simply not say who won the election because they're feckless and pathetic.
Yeah, Loeffler showed up to the debate, although you could barely tell. But Purdue didn't even show up to his own debate. They just had a chair there for him. Because, I mean, I've never seen anyone this much of a coward. Like, I get it in primaries, sometimes if the incumbent has a big lead, or in races where they're trying to not give oxygen to a candidate that's rising up, they might not show up, and that's a terrible thing to do. But at least I understand the rationale of it politically. But in a general election where it's basically 50-50 and the polling actually has you losing at this point, to not show up to a debate because the last time Ossoff slapped you around rhetorically and you looked like you were humiliated, and then you basically declare yourself a public coward by not showing up. So as robotic and awful as Loeffler was, Purdue's even worse.
Purdue is even worse, you're right. He ran away after getting absolutely annihilated in that debate with Ossoff. But since we're speaking about that annihilation, we should mention that the topic was the alleged insider trading that Purdue had engaged in after getting a Senate briefing in late January in regard to the severity of the coronavirus pandemic. And Kelly Loeffler also made some interesting trades right after that Senate briefing.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.